Like many of you, I suspect, my personal journey has been defined by a series or a composition of sliding door moments, and I love those sliding door moments. My mother, when I was less than a year old, she travelled from Turkey to join my father as a migrant worker who was in London. For a week, she travelled on train, bus and ferry with myself and my 4-year-old brother. She did not know a word of English. Today I think she knows maybe 100, or she lets us think that she knows maybe 100. And we came to the UK. I grew up in the East End of London, way before it became cool and trendy, and in an immigrant working class community. And I was the first university graduate of my immediate and extended family. I spent my younger years battling with the dual Turkish and British identities. And I never really felt that I belonged in either. And I think maybe that was one of the reasons why I decided to go to Turkey when I finished university. I went with 2 of my childhood friends, Nazan and Selda. And I think that while the journey to the UK was a sliding door moment for my parents that affected me, my sliding door moment was when I decided to go back to Turkey. And I had notions of working in development, but I really didn't know where to start. I had experienced firsthand the inequities of being a girl, an immigrant, of limited economic means, but I also knew that educational opportunities can really make a difference. You know, I'd gone to university, I had what we call in Turkish a golden bracelet of some sort, though I didn't know what I was going to do with this golden bracelet. And when I went to Turkey, like you would with an economics degree, I applied to work for several banks, and Finansbank called me. And the chairman of Finansbank at the time, Hüsnü Özyeğin, his wife was setting up a new foundation called AÇEV, the Mother Child Education Foundation. And they offered me a job at this new NGO. And this was my second most important sliding door moment. I met the founder, Ayla Göksel, and I took the job without knowing what the job was, how much it paid, where the office was going to be. I was obviously a little naive. But, you know, I took the risk because I looked into Ayşen's eyes, and she said to me, Ayla, will you join this journey with me? And the journey was, it was about mothers and children and education, but I didn't know much more beyond that. My parents were horrified. They was like, all this education, you're going to work for what? And it was a sector that they didn't understand. And, you know, bear in mind, this is almost 22, 23 years ago, when NGO or non-associations are sort of synonymous with anarchy and terrorism even. So my parents were horrified. But AÇEV, I think, was the beginning of the lean-in journey for me. We set out to invest in young children through training their mothers, then their fathers, and realising, as Seda said, that if women are not equal in society, then ultimately children and all of our futures will suffer. I'm not going to go through my career journey in civil society, but I've been extremely lucky. I started off 22 years ago as a new graduate, working for a startup, a new NGO. But then I had the amazing fortune to lead or support many organisations in their pivotal phases, including Özyeğin University, Hüsnü Özyeğin Foundation, the Education Reform Initiative, Tohum Foundation, Kagider, there's quite a few there, but all of them were seeking to help those more disadvantaged, and many were working to empower women. From building girls' dormitories so that girls can go to school, to training women to become beekeepers, to improve their livelihoods, to training mothers to educate their children. And we've reached over 1 million people through these programs in Turkey. How did I get so lucky? I know the organisers want me to talk about lean in, but let's see if I can talk about what I want to talk about. Hard work. I don't think there's anyone in this room that says you can just coast along in life without, you know, really putting the effort in. But more importantly, never ever shirking from the crappy tasks or asking, is this in my job definition? You know, I know there are a lot of young students out here But, you know, more recently, the young people come up to me and they say, but this is not in my job. And I'm like, you know, just get on with it. And then let's talk about it. But I remember one of my early years, one day I was preparing a presentation for the World Bank. And then we ran out of toilet paper. And there was no one to do either of these tasks. So I had to go out and get toilet paper as well. But, you know, that's fine. You just get on with it. Asking questions, lots and lots of questions. There's always someone that knows more than you do, and there's always someone that wants to tell you how much they know more than you do. So just find those people. I mean, today it's easier because you can almost Google everything, but you know, it's always better to try and make that connection and learn from the horse's mouth, as it were. Obviously, having the unwavering support and guidance of my bosses, Ayşen and Hüsnü, they trusted me and they let me get on with it. They really did. And I never felt like an employee. I felt like an owner. I felt like a partner, whatever you want to call it. And having people that believe in you at work is like the biggest bonus and the biggest high. Imagine if everyone on your team felt that way. Imagine the difference that you could make. Building your support circle. That's critical. I don't like the word network anymore. We just had a discussion with Emma about this, but I take her point as well. Because I think that it's become a little bit tainted with notions of self-interest and transaction and opportunism for self-advancement. My best professional relationships are the ones that I can call friendships. You know, going beyond the title and the organisation, finding out if they've got kids, finding out if they have the struggles that, you know, Esra talked about. But also making sure that you're holding up your end of the relationship. It's not just about what you can get from that person. What can you contribute to that person or that organisation? I think that's critical. For me, this is all leaning in. You know, I know Sheryl Sandberg said a whole lot of things, and you know, some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. But I believe you have to lean in everywhere, to your co-workers, your managers, your network, but most of all to yourself. Are you first doing the best that you can? And are you doing yourself justice? But while it's grand to stand here and talk about success, did I do everything right? Of course I didn't. And today I'm actually battling with feelings of self-doubt. I sometimes find it hard to maintain my sense of optimism for Turkey. Thinking about all the issues that I've worked on for the past 20 years, like education, women's empowerment, equality and tolerance, and how some of these have been whittled away in Turkey. Wondering whether I've really managed to have an impact. You know, I've spent my 20 years in these issues, and have I had an impact? And made a difference. Then I go and visit one of our programs, or I talk to one of my colleagues, and they tell me a story, and then I think, okay, one by one, we have to continue. So here's where I want to talk about keeping calm, and here's why I'm going to, you know, adhere to the direction of the organisers. I don't think anyone would describe me as calm, firstly. Calm can mean level-headed, cool and serene, which are all wonderful attributes. But I don't want to be calm. I want to be excited and passionate, and sometimes even hot-headed about the issues I care about. I want to be motivated enough to get up and try and make a difference. I even want to be angry sometimes about the injustices that I see. Some of which, as I'm sure you can guess, I'm going to share with you. There are 31 million girls not in primary school in the world. 31 million. Can you believe that? Only 3 out of 10 women work in Turkey. Half of our young women in Turkey, between the ages of 16 and 29, half are not in education or employment. They're ev kızı, ev hanımı, house girls, housewives, for the non-Turkish members of the audience. And you may think that the UK is better off. And in terms of labour force participation at 75%, it is, very much so. But 70% of minimum wage jobs are held by women. So we have more jobs, but not better jobs. 1 in 3 women suffer violence across the world. 1 in 3. Is that a statistic that we want to be calm about? And it's not a third world problem. Even in the UK, almost 3 million women a year experience some form of violence, including rape, domestic violence and stalking. There was a lot of threes in my statistics, weren't there? It was like 31, 3. How did that happen? So, are you calm? No. Good. But now the real challenge is turning these feelings of indignation or even outrage to constructive action. Not everyone can be on the battlegrounds or marching in protest, and not everyone should. And we don't even have to think about the daunting task of changing the world. There is a role that everyone can play in our own individual lives to make a difference. And if you're shy about being branded a gender warrior or a feminist, don't be. These aren't women's issues. These are human issues, child issues and family issues that we're talking about. And for those that want to aim higher, they're also economic issues and social issues. And we can all make a difference. And I'm not going to say make a donation to a worthy cause or share a post on social media. That's easy, and you should be doing that anyway. Look at your workplace. Are there policies in place that are supporting women to advance in their careers while enjoying their motherhood? You know, Esther told us a very personal story about how she was offered this fantastic opportunity, but she still battled with the feelings of guilt. If not, is there anything you can do about it? Barclays has this wonderful scheme here in place. Is it really working? Is it working enough that we have women that are in the workforce, in better jobs, in higher jobs, supporting others? Look around you. I'm sure there is a woman in this room that you can help with advice, connections, or friendship. But most of all, I'd like you to look at your relationships, your families and children. Are the men in our lives, our partners, our friends, our colleagues, aware of the inequalities women face? And do they care? You know, I think Emma is also going to talk about her personal journey, and we're all mothers. I'm a single mother. I would not be where I am today because of my own mother. My mother supported me in order to continue in my career and to do all the travelling that I do, because I'm a single. But some of us are lucky enough to have partners that support them, but some of us aren't. Some of us have to take on all of the burden in the home and in the workplace. So, do the men know, and do they care? And I'm really pleased to see a handful of men in the audience. So you care, and well done to you. But are the boys, your boys, if you have sons, are we repeating the same cycle of gender norms? Are we bringing up our children with the same or different expectations? And I say this as a Turkish girl that was brought up to serve her brothers. And I have a son, and I sometimes catch myself asking my niece and not my nephew to help me set the table or to do some domestic chore. So we need a mentality shift. And this mentality shift is facilitated and realised on a multitude of levels, in the workplace, but I think it's the most important. It's in ourselves, and then in the home, and in the attitude and behaviours of men. The He for She campaign is a fantastic start, and we have to engage men in this issue. I don't expect the room to be full of men in a TurkishWIN event, but I'd like to see more than a handful. And not just token men that wear the t-shirt once a year, but real everyday engagement for everyday equality. That's what we need to be pursuing. So, my final words. Begin or continue, where you will, small or big, but please be bothered, be passionate, be inspired, and don't keep calm. Thank you.